Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Adam. Welcome to another filmic review, and today we're going to be taking a look at the X-Files television show and its various home media releases. For those of you who don't know or never heard of it, X-Files is a television show produced in the early 90s, ran till 2018, produced 11 series and 2 feature films from the brainchild of Chris Carter. In fact, when writing the pilot, he got rejected twice by Fox until they finally agreed. It's a science fiction thrillery type of series, and we're going to take a look at the home media releases, and at the end of this video I'm going to tell you my preferred way of watching the X-Files. It's been available on home media on VHS, Laserdisc, DVD and Blu-ray, and even got streaming services release as well back in 2015. So like I said, Chris Carter, he created the show, and it was kind of made on a season by season basis. So when 20th Century Fox commissioned the first season, they didn't know that they would be returning for a second season. In fact, it wasn't until about halfway through the broadcast of the first season that they knew season 2 would be commissioned. So when they wrote the ending, they knew that it was going to be commissioned for a second series, and I wonder how it would have turned out had they not been commissioned for a second series. Each season ended on a major cliffhanger, and I think they kind of played with that format of, as a viewer, you know, we didn't know if another season would be coming, and they kind of played with that, with certain characters being either seemed to be killed off, or, you know, the sort of big question mark of, is the show returning, was always, you know, in the air. And of course it ran for 11 series, so watching it on the broadcast is a very different experience than on home media, where you know there's 11 series, so any play on characters, or have they died, or will they be returning, you know, you already know the answer, kind of, because, well, you can see their faces on the covers of, you know, seasons later on, so yeah, they must have returned. So it almost takes away that allure of thrillerness, of, you know, mystery of, ooh, are they returning? So season 1, Chris Carter wrote many of the episodes, and there was a handful of directors that were interested to direct most of the episodes. It was all shot on 35mm camera, Panavision, to begin with, and the first 3 seasons had John Bartley as director of photography. And they used Eastman Kodak negative stock with 35mm anamorphic lenses for the cameras. And later series, they moved on to the Arri Alexa cameras, and both film and digital in the later series. And I think you can definitely see that shift from film to digital. You know, 7, 8, 9 series definitely look a lot different, and so do 10 and 11. And the feature films obviously have their own movie motion picture look as well. My personal memories of the show when it came out, I didn't catch the pilot episode, which aired in September 1994 on the BBC 2 channel. I caught, I think it was like episode 3. I'd heard from friends at school, and I sort of started watching from about episode 3, but I was totally hooked. I thought it was really good. And the season ran for a year and finished in 1994. And then, of course, season 2 came out, and it wasn't really until season 4 that they started releasing home media versions of the episodes. And this was at a time when you didn't have, you know, TV shows being released on, like, back then it was just VHS and Laserdisc, but you didn't have complete series. Nobody ever released complete series back in the day. So I don't think Fox knew kind of what to do with the release of this. So back in the, like, when it was like season 4, they started releasing these box sets, or these single releases that came in two different waves. So the first wave would be 3 VHS tapes with 2 or 3 episodes on there, for like the first half of season 1, and then a second wave would come on, and you'd have another 3 VHS tapes with 2 or 3 episodes on per tape, containing 12 episodes out of the 24 that were broadcast. So you really only were getting half a season, and this continued until season 4. On VHS, you were basically only getting, half a season. And then after season 4, by then it was like, 1996. And so DVDs were sort of on the horizon. And in fact, the later seasons got then released on DVD, in that same format, where it would be like, one disc, one release, featuring 2 episodes, and also a lot of the concluding episodes of seasons. So this is season 9, featuring the last 2 episodes of season 9. Now, the content on these discs, these standalone features, all were put on later releases on DVD when the collectors and the thin box sets came out as well. But from my recollection, I had a fantastic time watching it. I would really recommend it. It's basically based around the FBI with 2 agents investigating weird and paranormal cases. There's 3 types of episodes that you would generally get with this series. But the format was always the same. The 2 agents would be given a case, they'd investigate it, and then they go on to either resolve or don't resolve. But that was the format that went through the entire sort of series. But the type of episodes you got, you would either get one of 3. So there's a mythology running between all 11 series surrounding conspiracy of UFO, and kind of intertwines the lives of the 2 main leads, which is David Duchovny playing Fox Mulder and Gillian Anderson playing Dana Scully. These mythology episodes were generally written by Chris Carter and sometimes directed by Chris Carter, and probably a makeup for about 40 to 50% of each season. Then the second type of episode you generally got what the fans termed the monster of the week, where an entity or a creature would be the focus of the show. They'd be investigating, and they pretty much did every type of creature or entity you can think of in the 11 series. And these weren't really a part of the conspiracy, the mythology, episodes. These were standalone stories, and really some really good ones as well. And then the third type of episode were just really generally written by Darren Morgan for the first 4 seasons, but these were just pure comedy. These were like really funny episodes, tongue-in-cheek, generally taking the piss out of themselves, and there's some really good episodes. They really played with the fourth wall as well in this TV show, and they really played with the format, so it never really was boring. Each season has got a string of very good episodes to keep you hooked. There's never really, I would say, a dull season because of this. From the day I started watching it, I was hooked. The seasons kind of ran in 2 halves. So seasons 1 to 9 are deemed the core of the X-Files run, and that started in 1993 and ran until 2001. And then they also did a feature film in 1998 called Fight the Future. Then they did another feature film in 2008, which was a standalone sort of Monster of the Week story. And in 2016, they brought out another series called the Event Series. And in 2018, they brought out the 11th season. Now, Gillian Anderson has said on many occasions how she won't be returning in the future for playing Dana Scully, but she has said that in the past. So there is a big question mark if there will be a season 12. Nothing has been said or confirmed Chris Carter wants to make a season 12, but nothing has been put into motion as of recording this video in 2025. So let's go through the release history, as it were, of the home video. So back in the 90s, like I said, nobody releasing anything in terms of full-on seasons on home media. And so Fox put out these VHS tapes that only really lasted for the first 4 seasons. And I did buy a few of them, and they were also mirrored on Laserdisc. And these were basically 2 or 3 episodes per release, and there was 12 episodes in total per season, and there was 4 seasons. So you can imagine how many episodes, and it really gives you just a flavor of that season. But these were all standalone releases that then, when, like I said, DVDs came out, they continued that format, and this is an example of one such release. Generally, when you opened it up, it would just be the single disc, and you would also get an artwork card on it. This one's with Alex Krycek. These cards are highly collectible now, and are only available inside the release of the standalone releases. I don't even believe The Truth, which is a double feature release, has one of these cards. Nope. And it doesn't mention on the cover that you would get one either. All the special features that appear on these sort of standalone releases you can find on the box sets, and there's been a few box sets released. Hell, there's even been a newsagent's part work released in a magazine form, where you go and pay like £5 for the magazine and you get a disc of a release. And this is one of the bonus feature discs where the extras of this actually show up in later box sets and on Blu-ray, and it literally is just a single disc, and this is all about the extras, Secrets of the X-Files, more Secrets of the X-Files, and Reflections of the X-Files. And I gotta say, not worth it. Like, they're basically just a mishmash of scenes with some creepy "The X-Files" voiceover, and doesn't actually provide any insight that isn't already available on the box sets. But yeah, X-Files has had a very weird home media release. So this video is all about the review of the TV show and the home media releases. This isn't like an unboxing video. You know, I look on YouTube and all I see are unboxing videos pertaining to the X-Files. No one's actually reviewed it, except for 2 lads who talked about events around the time of its release, and not actually about the show itself. So I'm going to cover the show and its releases. So season 1 was broadcast September in the UK on the BBC between 1993 and 1994, and it didn't actually get a full-on release on home media until 2001. So like 7 years later, fans were crying out for having the full season released. We got the box sets on VHS and Laserdisc of these, you know, just a couple of episodes per, you know, release, but fans wanted a full season released. So it wasn't until the show was winding down on season 9, which, as all part and parcel, was the end of the X-Files at that point, that they then turned to releasing the full release of X-Files per season on DVD. DVD by 2001 was becoming the format of choice. VHS was pretty much going. Laserdisc had already gone. So they focused on DVD. Now, Japan did actually release the X-Files on Laserdisc in a full season, volumes 1, 2, and 3 per season. You could only get this in Japan, I believe. I don't know if it was also released in America, but you could get volumes 1, 2, and 3, which would contain, you know, a quarter or a third of the series, and they only went up to series 7, sadly, but they also did have those standalone releases for the first 4 seasons. So if you get it on Laserdisc, you're not getting the full season breadth of the X-Files, because you can only access up to season 7. So 2001 season 9 is winding down, and they put together these collector's editions. Season 1 was released in between 2000 and 2001, Season 2 2001, Season 5 2002, and this is pretty much what they look like. Now this is Season 6, but this is what the collector's edition looked like. It was a big thick book that was actually numbered, so only so many were made. It had a cardboard slipcase like this that came off, and was pretty cool in the fact that, you know, it opened like a book initially, with wonderful artwork in it, but then it went all a bit weird after that. It just keeps on opening. You just open it again and again and again, and before you know it, that's what the back looked like. And before you know it, you had something that looked like this, which I'm struggling to show you all on camera, but a massive fold out, okay? Each of the discs had artwork on it that was unique to that disc, and each had about 4 episodes on it. There was a booklet that came with it, talking all about the transmission dates of when it was broadcast. So I've got the UK edition, so it talks about the air date of the UK version. In here it says 1998. And it also came with a bonus disc. If I can pack this away. Honestly, it's a beast. Also then came with a bonus features disc, which featured, actually for the time, really remarkably groundbreaking stuff. Looking back at it now, not so much. So when the VHS releases came out in the early 90s, or the mid 90s rather, Chris Carter would do these interviews where he'd talk about the episode, why it's been selected for a release, the importance of it, yada yada yada. All those little 5-minute videos are featured on the collector's edition, as well as a documentary called The Truth About Season, whatever season it is. Also includes a featurette, which is split among 6... a featurette, which is a behind-the-scenes look at the season in question. Now, that featurette mainly mirrors the content that Chris Carter talks about in the interviews, which also crops up in the documentary. So you're kind of getting repeated stories throughout these 3 featurettes. All comes with deleted scenes, all with commentaries and selected commentary episodes, as well as including promotional spots, special effect clips and trailers, and a DVD-ROM game. So that's basically the breakdown of what the collector's edition looked like in its first initial release. They released the first 9 seasons between 2000 and 2004 in these collector's edition. Now, the only gripe I have about this, whilst it's a really fantastic release and it looks really good and it's, you know, gives you quite a lot, it's all made of cardboard, okay? Now, where you have the DVD, this is plastic, okay? So that's great. You can take your disc out from the plastic case, lovely, nice and easy like that. But this is glued onto the cardboard, okay? Over time, the glue sort of tends to wear, and then these tend to fall. You know, every time you open it up and bending the cardboard, you're basically wearing out the spines, and eventually the case, you know, is going to just kind of disintegrate on you. These are true collector's editions in the fact that you should really only have them on the shelf, you know, and not actually watch them, because they are quite collectible. If you try and find these on eBay, they can actually, you know, per season go for like 30 quid each. Somebody, if you're lucky, will sell a whole set for 50 quid. But they are quite collectible, but they won't last the test of time, sadly. So that's how they first got released up until 2004. Then obviously 2004, X-Files kind of went quiet until 2008 when they actually brought out a film again. And this one was just called I Want to Believe. It's a standalone story. Doesn't actually involve much between the 9 seasons. It's a great film. I really enjoyed it. The release is literally just a single disc, also sort of advertising, the other film as well, which we'll get to in a second. But with the build up to that film coming out, they re-released everything. In 2006, they released all of the season 1 to 9 on these sets, which are a lot thinner when you compare them to the collector's sets. So basically, if you had 2 collector's sets, you could probably get 3 seasons on your shelf as opposed to 2 of these, maybe even 4. Basically, it took up less space on your bookshelf. Everything was condensed down. Now, for America, for the first, say, 3 or 4 seasons, not all the extras were ported across to this set. It actually, for American people, it lacked a few of the documentaries. Europe, on the other hand, which got them a year later, included all the features from the collector's edition. And these versions are identical to the collector's edition in terms of their discs. So if we open it up, it's a plastic case, really nice. The same booklet is printed with the same information for the air dates inside. The discs and the artwork on the discs are identical to the previous releases. Literally just a reprint. There is no mastering going on here, nothing. Season 1 was broadcast in 1.33 to 1 or 4 to 3 ratio, and it is actually quite unique. The first 3 seasons are actually quite unique because the director of photography, John Bartley, gave the first 3 seasons a very unique look in terms of the lighting, and they're quite dark, It was shot on 35mm negative camera, and it was shot in basically an open matte, way. And he shot it with what's called protected for widescreen. So when they started making the, first sort of 3 seasons, John Bartley knew that widescreen TVs were on the horizon and that these episodes could be matted to fit a widescreen presentation. So the first 3 seasons were filmed with a protection for widescreen, so if you did crop the top and bottom, you're not losing anything. Now, there was slight cropping for the 4 to 3 ratio on either side, but the height is exactly the same as it is on the negative. It's just a very slim, because of the 4 to 3 ratio for broadcast. I would say, in my personal opinion, this is close. These are the closest and best discs to get if you want the original broadcast version that you remember. We're going to talk about the Blu-ray and what kind of went on with the mastering process. For anybody who doesn't know how the mastering process was done for this, basically they would have the 35mm film reels. They would create what's called a intermediate, and that would basically be a 2-inch master tape per episode, literally doing a slight crop, like I said, on the left and right, and then color back timing it, and sort of telecinning it down to be able to fit on a VHS of 240 or a DVD of 480i, or 576 for the European market. But this intermediate process was actually done in 2K in the 90s as standard. So this DVD comes from an actual 2K intermediate from the 35mm negative. I think season 1 probably suffers the most because it was probably, like I said, an actual magnetic tape intermediate, whereas seasons possibly 5 to 9 were done digitally, and you can tell the quality difference. All of seasons 1 to 3 are in the 4.4 to 3 ratio, aspect ratio, as they were broadcast. So all of the original broadcast elements are in this package. It's a nice set. It contains all the extras, you know. Yeah, well worth grabbing, I'd say. Then they made season 2 and 3 exactly the same way in terms of bringing it to DVD. Each season, as you can see, was given a color code, as it were, which, apart from season 1, mirrored the collector's edition color coding. Season 1 had a black and white color code on the cover on the collector's edition. On this edition, the slimmer version, it's kind of a blue, you know, but all the other seasons follow that same color code from the collector's edition, with all the extras in the UK identical but just slimmer, and also building a bit of a hype for the forthcoming film 2 years later. Now, when it came to Series 4, John Bartley was not involved in the making of Season 4. Still shot on 1.33 to 1, or still released on DVD 1.33 to 1. So it was still shot on 35mm negative, using an anamorphic 35mm lens, using the Eastman Kodak negative. The mastering was most likely done now, because we're talking Season 4, we're talking 2001, most likely a digital internegative was made, but it could have been in film. I can't actually find information on Season 4, but it was no longer shot protected for widescreen. So the composition of these 4:3 ratioed episodes are what the director intended you to see. There was slight cropping on the left and right, but you get the full top and bottom. These are effectively almost, I would say, not an open matte now. The first 3 seasons you could class as an open matte release. These, not so much. And seasons 1 to 5 were all shot up in Vancouver, and seasons 5 to 9 or 5 to 11 were all shot in Los Angeles. You can definitely tell the difference between seasons 1 to 5 and 6 to 11. 10 and 11 are completely different beasts, but 6 to 9, I'd say, you can definitely tell there is a production value increase. There is a clearer picture, different lighting, but not only that, like the first 3 seasons were definitely lit a particular way, quite dark, for a television show, but definitely done a different way. Season 4 released, like I said, 2001. John Bartley not involved. It's got some really good episodes on this. Obviously the release on DVD is exactly the same. You get these discs and their artwork on the cover, and the booklet. It's the good thing about these releases is that it's all on plastic. Plastic isn't gonna fall apart on you over time. To take a disc out, you literally just lift it from the holster like that. You're not scratching, you're not scarring, you're not touching the actual bit on the disc where the information for the episodes are. These are my preferred way to have the X-Files on home media. There was a box set that came out in 2006, I believe. Might have been 2005, and it contained all 9 series and the film as well. And the episode, the release was actually pretty cool. It contained a comic book. It contained some of the artworks from the VHS releases. Contained all the extras, and contained a little drawer with a poster inside. Also contained all the episodes in these little digibook seasons. So you would take a book out, and then inside that little digibook with loads of cool pictures from the series, but the discs would be in this cardboard casing. So as you took out the disc, it would likely scratch over time. So the more you watched it, the more you're wrecking it. I don't actually like that release, as cool as it looks. I'll put a picture up here of what it looks like, but you're going to be wrecking your discs over time by watching that, I feel, my personal opinion. It's not, for me, a great way. And obviously the digibooks, are very small and kind of just all squashed in together, whereas these complete editions are quite thick. Obviously not as thick as the collector's editions, but for me, don't take up as much space on the old bookshelf, so are my preferred way to watch it. Now, when it came to season 5, it all changes. This is right before they were about to make the movie X-Files Fight the Future. They shot the film before they even shot season 5. So we'll do it in order of shooting. So season 4 had just wound down. Chris Carter knew that he wanted to be making a feature film as well, so he entrusted Rob Bowman, who was one of the directors on the show, to actually make the film. It was called Fight the Future, and it was filmed in such a way that you didn't have to watch any of the series previous to this. You didn't even have to know about X-Files to enjoy the film or to understand how it came out. It was released in 1998 theatrically and 1999 on DVD. This is the first release print, as it were, of it. Single disc release. Comes with a making of documentary, audio commentary, gag reel, and some deleted scenes, I believe. Also available on Laserdisc and VHS as well. But this was made before season 5 was filmed, but was released after season 5. So up to season 5 now. This season 5 was broadcast in 1997, so widescreen TVs were a lot more commonplace. So it was now released and broadcast in widescreen for the very first time. Still on the 35mm negative, probably using the Panavision camera still, or it could have been the Arriflex series camera on film as well. Still using the anamorphic lens. The picture quality on season 5 is a dramatic improvement over the first early 3 seasons, and even season 4. Probably because of the transfer to widescreen now. On the DVD release, it's an anamorphic widescreen, so it takes a lot more use of the resolution of the format. The transfer from film to disc was most likely done in 1997 still on a magnetic tape intermediate. I don't think they were using digital intermediates in 1997, but it was released in 2002 to 2004 on DVD. By then they were using digital intermediates, so the UK version 2004 most likely comes from a digital intermediate. The format is exactly the same. You get audio commentaries on selected episodes, you get deleted scenes, you get over an hour of a documentary of behind the scenes, as well as those little mini behind the scenes featurettes with special effects clips. But you no longer get any Chris Carter interviews, most likely because he didn't film any for Series 5 onwards. It was just for those first 4 initial series that were released scatteredly on VHS and Laserdisc did Chris Carter do the interviews for. So the release date of Season 5 broadcast was 1997, and the home media release was 2002 for the Americans and 2004 for us Brits. We had to wait a while. And then at the end of Season 5, out comes the movie, Fight the Future, which I think is a really interesting movie, really good, and completely bookends, I would say, the first 5 seasons of the X-Files. By then I was hooked. I absolutely loved it. Could not wait for season 6 to come out, which literally starts with the first episode called The Beginning, a completely new mythology, which kind of ties into the old one, but completely new starting, and probably the start of all the issues which led to the eventual end of the initial series. I think it all started basically with David Duchovny, who was kind of upset that he wasn't getting paid as much and tried to sue 20th Century Fox, and kind of started to fall out as well, which is why in seasons 7 and 8, especially series 8, he barely features, and in series 7 he starts to vanish a little bit. So we're up to see, that was season 6. It was released 2002 and 2003 on DVD. It was released like widescreen again, most likely using a digital internegative now for both American and the UK releases. You can definitely tell not only has the production house moved to Los Angeles, but the quality of this DVD, I would say the detail is exactly the same as the Blu-ray. In fact, going back to series 1, I would say the detail that you can see in this version of the X-Files, you can see the same detail on a 4K TV up against the Blu-ray. In fact, I'll put a screen comparison here now, where you can see the fine hair detail on both the DVD and the Blu-ray. The image itself is pretty much the same. Colors are slightly different, but you'll notice the cropping is a lot different, and this is something we're going to talk about later on. The Blu-ray, not what you think. So now we're up to season 7. Season 7 came out in 1999 in America and the UK, and was released in 2003 on DVD. Complete digital now, 178:1 aspect ratio, anamorphic on the disc. You get deleted scenes, behind the scenes, an hour documentary, commentaries on selected episodes. That special features is the same format for every release up to season 9. Inside, exactly the same. You get the booklets, you get the discs, you get the cover art. All of these discs are exactly the same discs that appear in later book collections, where you can either have seasons 1 to 9 in one set, or 1 to 10, or 1 to 11. They use the exact same discs. There's no remastering of the episodes. There's no, going back to the originals. All the DVDs share the common master for every single release. So by season 8 and 9, I think the writing is on the wall for it's winding down, and by season 9, that's it. It's the final season. As far as 20th Century Fox and the stars are concerned, they make no more. And it ended, season 9 was released 2001 broadcast, and 2004 on DVD. There were no VHS releases for these 2 seasons. There was no Laserdisc releases for these 2 seasons. It was only done on DVD at the time. Both were 178:1 shot, anamorphic on the disc. Same techniques were used for the intermediate digital from the 35mm negative. Sound was always Dolby stereo, which could be matrixed into a Dolby surround. There was no 5.1. It does say Dolby Digital on it though, so it will activate a 2.0 surround if you have a receiver. But that's basically it. All the sound pretty much across all the series is Dolby stereo surround. Even on season 1 it says Dolby Digital. So you've got a Dolby Digital 2.0 surround track, which is basically a stereo matrixed track. So the surrounds are given this kind of built-in, mixing into a stereo track. So you're only getting a stereo track at the end of the day. There's no actual, sort of, I don't know, 3.0 track. It's a stereo track, which within that stereo is a matrixed surround. Which is important when we talk about the Blu-ray release coming up in a bit. So now seasons 9, they've all been done, that's it. Released on DVD, wound down, nobody expects anything else, and then suddenly out of the blue, the film comes out. Nobody was expecting this. 2008 it was released. I Want to Believe, pretty cool cover, kind of rainbowy effects. Really interesting, but a complete standalone story. This could have been a film, nothing to do with X-Files. At the end of the day, it has nothing to do with the previous series or the mythology episodes. It literally is a Monster of the Week kind of film. The transfer of this is 2.40 to 1 aspect ratio from the digital cameras to the disc. Really good transfer on this, really nice, even on the DVD. I don't have the Blu-ray. I probably won't get the Blu-ray for that film because the first film I've got on DVD, and I won't pick up the Blu-ray because this actually, when I play it on my 4K player, upscaled to 4K with all the features that 4K Blu-ray player can do, this actually looks really good and very filmic. The colors are good. I have no qualms with that, so I have no need for a Blu-ray copy. So if I'm not getting the Blu-ray copy for the first film, I'll keep the second film on DVD as well. Nice and easy. And then suddenly in 2016, the event series came out. Now I do have this on Blu-ray, and I plan to get Series 11 on Blu-ray. This was filmed with digital cameras, same as Series 11. Digital intermediate, all completely mastered. 1080p gorgeousness, DTS sound, the full works, 5.1. This feels a lot different from Series 1 to 9. It continues the format where you'll get the mythology episodes, you'll get some funny ones, you'll get a Monster of the Week as well. But it's kind of a foobar season because of Season 11. Like, this is kind of doesn't mean anything now once you watch Season 11, which I'm not going to get into because I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but this is more like a dream, if anything. Season 10, but it was a welcome return at the time. People loved it. Obviously everyone's getting old, everyone looks older, but this was filmed kind of 2015, released in 2016, and then Season 11 was filmed straight after but released in 2018. So people don't look, too dissimilar from each other. Now the Blu-ray release. Everybody was asking for a high-definition version of the X-Files. The Seasons 11 and the 2 films were all released now. And in 2013, Illuminate was given the task to go back to the original 35mm negatives and bring to Blu-ray and high definition the X-Files, and everybody was ecstatic. Now, it didn't come out and release on Blu-ray until 2015. I don't have it, I never will buy it, and here is why. When Illuminate, who never got any help from 20th Century Fox or the actual creators of the X-Files TV show, they did it all on their own. They went back, they were given access to all the original 35mm Kodak negatives. Yes! Which means they have the full width of the frame now. It no longer being cropped for, the first 4 series. Like I said, were cropped for TV transmission. That no longer is in effect. They have the full width of the frame. And obviously they want to crop it now for widescreen, so Series 1 to 3, absolutely fine to do that. It was shot in that way. Series 4, not so much. You do actually miss information top and bottom. I mean, you do miss it series 1 to 3, but it doesn't destroy the composition of the episode. Series 4, there's a lot of stuff where it does look a lot different, kind of a mixed bag in terms of the cropping. Obviously, series 5 to 9, or series 5 to 11, absolutely fine, because it was released in widescreen, so it was shot exactly for that format, and you're getting exactly what the director intended. Not a problem. Series 1 to 4, though, you're missing the top and bottom. It does look like you get an expanded sides for some episodes, but not others. The reason is when they went back to the 35mm negatives, they could only find or access about 90% of it. So, and this is just the camera negative now. We're not talking about the special effects, which were done on a DV intermediate and has their own problems, or any fonts or titles as well that was added after in the post process. We're talking about what came out of the camera. That's what they had access to. So not like a version done in whatever year, the actual camera negatives, which means they had to go back and re-edit every single episode, recolor time, reformat everything as if they were doing it for the first time. So the versions for seasons 1 to 4 will look slightly different from the DVDs, for the fact is they're not the broadcast episodes. They are a re-edited, recolor timed, rebalanced, formatted load of seasons, load of episodes. For me, seasons 1 to 3 do not now have that dark look, where the flashlights were so important in seasons 1 to 3. They were literally lighting the scene with flashlights in some scenes. The Blu-ray, I do have copies on my PC of the Blu-rays. They were released through Amazon and Netflix, and I downloaded from them streaming services all 11 seasons, and the first 3 seasons are a little bit brighter than the DVD counterparts, which for me follow the broadcast versions more closely. It's what I remember. When Illuminate went back to bring it to Blu-ray, they only scanned it at 1080p, and that is it. These DVDs come from a 2K master, so the detail perception, even though the Blu-rays are a complete clean transfer, there was no scrubbing, there was no proper... they actually said that the prints were in very good condition. There was no film grain, dirt on these negatives. They didn't need to do any heavy denoising. Obviously, they did some light denoising, but at 1080p, to be honest, you're probably not picking up all that fine film grain anyway. The process of capturing the 35mm negative was done very well, I feel. They do look very nice, colourful, detailed, but the DVDs look just as detailed and have a slightly different colour timing to them, because obviously they were done by the X-Files creators. The Blu-ray was done by just a third-party team who had no access to the X-Files creators, so they colour timed them faithfully, they said, to what they believe the episodes were, to what the directors wanted, but at the end of the day they did their own thing. Same with the cropping and the sound. All the episodes now feature 5.1 matrix, like 5.1 proper separation. No longer is it a matrixed sound where your receiver is kind of going to do all the work. It's now every channel's dedicated, so certain effects, certain bits of music done by Mark Snow had to be selected to a channel. It does sound a little bit different. Some people say it's better. Me personally, I find that the voices aren't the same in terms of the soundstage, and a lot of the special effects have changed. There's a lot of changes for the Blu-ray, which to me takes away from my memory of how I watched it on the telly back in the day. It's completely different in terms of just capturing the 35mm negative. Now, in terms of the special effects, and the X-Files is pretty special effects heavy. For the first 9 seasons, all the special effects at the time were done on the DVD sets at the time. The special effects, unfortunately, a lot of them had to be redone. They could not get, like I said, 90% of these reels were not found in time for this. The missing parts, even just within the episodes themselves, just the episode material, had to be up-resolutioned from the original intermediate. So they're taking either a 2K or an original scan of 480i and then upscaling it to 1080p. You probably won't notice a lot of those instances because it's selected scenes scattered throughout all the series. But the special effects, a lot were redone using more modern techniques than what appeared in those original broadcasts. And the titles, unfortunately, they didn't have access for some reason to the original font used for the titles, so they used the next best thing, which for me stands out too weirdly and takes me out. The titles were all the titles were up-resed from the original, so no real difference there, which thankfully I'm glad they did that, because I wouldn't want them to have remade the original title sequence in today. I'm glad that they just went back to the original and up-resed it. But a lot of the footage is up-res, a lot of the special effects are completely redone or even up-resolutioned from their original. To me, the Blu-ray release is not what I remember. It might be good for somebody who's never seen the series and be quite happy with that. But for me, who grew up with that series, lived through the series, I'll never buy the Blu-ray. It's 150 quid to get the 11 series when I've got them on DVD, and they're in the exact same way they were released in their original broadcast. So basically, there you go. That's my review. The television show is fantastic. Go watch it. Go find it on streaming. Go find it on Blu-ray, on DVD, wherever you can. It's a great show. I really have a lot of memories watching this. But if you're wanting to watch it as you remember it back in the day, go hunt out these versions of the DVDs, because you'll have the best experience. Play them on a DVD player with a scaler onto 4K, or play them through a Blu-ray 4K player that will upscale to 4K, and they look fantastic. They honestly mirror the Blu-rays for me. So no point in buying the Blu-rays. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Take care. The truth is out there.